I am back. I'll now do chapter 3. Ready, set, start. The bruised Brits had been battered for 1,000 years. In 43 AD 43, the Romans ruined them. In the 5th century, Saxons, what are Saxons? Savaged them. In the 9th century, the Vikings vanquished them. These were the Dark Ages. No jokes about them being called dark, because there were a lot of nights around in those days. But in 1066, the Normans finally nobbled them. Sorry. Even teachers know that William the Conqueror landed in 1066 and won the Battle of Hastings. The nasty Normans took over. Nasty Normans! See? As you can obviously see, nasty Normans. Okay. These Normans were Vikings who'd settled in northern France. They wore pointy hats, and who can blame them? They'd probably heard the story of the King Geoffrey of Brittany. What's Brittany? King Geoffrey was on a journey to Rome when one of his hawks attacked a chicken in a tavern yard. The innkeeper's wife was furious. She picked up a big iron pot and threw it at Geoff. It hit the king on the head and killed him. The nasty Normans nipped in and nicked Geoff's land for themselves, wearing helmets to avoid low-flying pots, of course. That is quite pointy. You see? There. That's quite pointy. Well, a bit quite pointy. The Normans had more writers and monks to record the history of their times. We are no longer in the dark so much. We've left the Dark Ages and entered the later Middle Ages. It's still Middle Ages? That's impossible. The measly Middle Ages, when times were tough and life was hard. Measly food and measly death by plague, or war, or torture, or simply overwork. Okay, sorry for that. Too closeness. I got through all the famines, the fighting, the Black Death, and the grinding hard work. How old are you? 25. What? He's 25 and he looks like that? And you think homework school dinners and history lessons are bad? Bloodthirsty Bill the Conqueror was Norman leader in 1066. He said King Edward of England had promised him the English throne. King Harold said the same thing. It was a fight to the death for two tough fellers. The English must have hoped Harold would win because Big Bill was bloodthirsty. William of Normandy was teased because he was said to be the son of a tanner, a leatherworker. When he attacked Alan's son in France, 1048, the people poked fun at him by hanging out skins and shouting, "Plenty of work for the tanner's son." This may not have upset you, but it made Big Bill furious. He attacked and took 34 prisoners. Okay, it made Big Bill furious. He paraded them in front of the town walls. As the people of Alencon watched, he had their hands and feet cut off and lobbed over the wall. That's what will happen to you if you don't surrender, he promised. They surrendered. William led an army against the Count of Arques, but he marched so fast that he arrived outside Arques town with just 6 men. The Count was waiting with 300 knights. William charged at the Count, who turned and galloped for the safety of the town. The 300 knights fled. The 300 knights fled after him, and the Count was William's uncle. William wanted Maine and France as well as England. Walter of Nantes claimed both of them too. Willie captured Wally and his wife. And locked them up at Falaise, where they died. Some historians say they were poisoned. When Will conquered England, his reign was harsh. One historian of the time wrote that devils had come through the land with fire and sword. You can't hold fire, but you can hold a sword. And people are not devils. No, they're not. But kind William abolished the death penalty. His last law said, "I forbid that any man be executed or hanged for any offense, but let his eyes be gouged out." Of course, when an English earl called Waltheof rebelled in 1076, William forgot that law. Will gave Walt a chop at Winchester. Measly. I wish someone would remind him. Chop. Huh? People, some English rebels didn't know how cruel William. Oh, come on. They soon found out in the north of England when Will and his Normans marched on York. Every Englishman and boy they met was slaughtered. The army was broken up into smaller wrecking parties. Anything of any use to a human was destroyed. Houses burnt to ground, crops burned, cattle killed, and farm tools broken. From York to Durham, a whole generation of people were wiped out. The roads were scattered with corpses, and some said the survivors turned to cannibalism to stay alive. What's cannibalism? In 1086, York was still almost deserted. If I ever get my hands on that vicious butcher, William, I'll eat him. But I didn't finish the chapter. You'll be pleased to know that when Billy the Bully tried to do the same to a town called Mantes, his horse trod on one of the burning cinders and stumbled. The fall hurt William's great gut, and he died in agony. I'm gonna move to somewhere else because my baby sister needs to sleep. Sorry it's so dark. Sorry for dropping it. And now I only have 10%, so I'll try to do this faster. Okay. The Normans didn't like the English. In fact, they didn't even like their own family. William the Conqueror's brother, Odo, looked after England while Bill popped into Normandy. What thanks did Odo get? William threw him in jail. But Bill's sons were worse. They fought against each other, and they even fought against their dear old dad. William the Conqueror probably couldn't write. He had clerks to do that for him. But William could have written a letter to his wife Matilda in 1079. Gerberoy Castle, Normandy, January 1079. Dear Matilda, you won't believe what our Robert has gone and done. Only gone and beacon his dad and bought. This is terrible handwriting. Beacon his dad and bottle. That's all. The ungrateful little swine. Oops, pardon my French. As you know, he was rebelling against my rule, so I rode up to Jeberot with a few hundred lads to sword him out. What does he do? He locks the gates. What do I do? Well, I besiege him, don't I? A few hungry weeks without his venison pasties, and he'll come begging for mercy, won't he? Always. What? He forgot a question mark. You see here, this needs to be a question mark. Won't he is a question. Always been fond of his grub. Has our always been fond of his grub has our Robert. But he doesn't. Instead, he gets his forces together and comes charging out of the castle. This is the most terrible handwriting I've ever seen. He attacks me. I thought I was supposed to be attacking him. Okay, maybe that doesn't make sense. Of course, he's made a big mistake. No one has ever beaten your William in battle, as you know. He charged straight for me, took me by surprise. That did. Knocked me down off my horse. Don't worry, my love, he didn't hurt me very much. The rest of his men began moving in for the kill when the English lad, Toki, rides up with a fresh horse and saves my life. Poor young Toki got killed, but the main thing is I survived. He doesn't care about Toki too much, but he still cares about him a little. Now, I don't want to worry you, my darling, but our young Will was fighting on my side, and he took a bit of a knock. He's recovering nicely, and he's quite a hero. I always thought he was a useless little twerp until now, as you know. But I've decided to give him the throne of England, the throne of England when I go to that great throne in the sky. As for Robert, he can have Normandy, and the ungrateful little beggar is welcome to it. Home soon, my dearest one, William Conqueror. Okay, dear William. Okay, Normandy, January 1079. Dear William, just wait till I see our Robert. Fancy knocking you off your horse? He needs teaching some manners. Mind, I always did say you spoiled that boy something rotten. A few whacks with the flat of your sword would have done him no harm at all. And I suppose you needed Toki's help because you are getting too fat to get back on your horse by yourself. When you get home, you're gonna diet, my lad. Do you think you could remember to bring me some of that local woolen cloth? Green if you can get it. Hurry home, the dogs are missing you, and I'm keeping your throne warm. Love, Matilda. P.S. Don't forget to wipe your feet before you come into the Great Hall. I've just had my new rushes put down. Cool. William forgave Robert enough to leave him Normandy, but when... I'll read this quick. But when old William died, young William Rufus got England. This caused a lot of quarrels between the brothers. Each wanted what the other had. A third brother Henry just got 5,000 pounds of silver. Who came off the best? Who came off best? Henry, actually. William Rufus was killed by an arrow when he was out hunting in the New Forest, though some historians think measly Henry might have arranged that accident. Henry took William's English throne, crossed over to Normandy. This is the last page. And defeated Robert in battle, and took Normandy to Henry too. Took Normandy too. Henry had the lot. William the Conqueror would have been proud of his murdering, fighting Rufus' son. The Fatal Forest. The story about William Rufus being shot in the New Forest is quite well known. His brother Henry is suspected of murder because he was in the same forest as the time of William's death. But strangest of all is the fate of Richard. Richard who? Richard was the fourth son of William the Conqueror. In 1074, Richard was killed in a riding accident. Guess where? That's right, in the New Forest. I didn't even guess. Richard came to a very painful end. He was charging through the forest on his horse when he collided with a tree. There were no driving tests for horse riders in those days. If there had been, then Richard would have failed. Richard was carried back to Winchester, but his injuries were so bad that he died soon after. William the Conqueror was really upset, and the trees can't have been too happy either. Felled by a stroke from an oak? Nah, it was a bash from an ash. Okay. Now I'm finished. I did both chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3 in the same day. Now I'll ask my mom to post them. Bye.